Hey, Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3 Raider Facts, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football.
Got a lot to talk about today. Roster cuts, surprises, and finally, it looks like Cliff Branch is going into the Hall of Fame.
Today on the show, we'll reflect on some of the news and notes from the past week, including a look at the final preseason game against the 49ers, the final cutdown of the roster, and piecing the rest of the squad together. We'll talk about the Baltimore Ravens next week, but we'll also have some breaking news. At least it's breaking while we're recording.
Okay, Raider Nation, we would love to hear from you, so here's how you can get in touch with us. Give us a call on the Only Nation podcast voicemail line at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667.
Here's the latest Raider news.
We'll start off the news segment with the best news that Raiders fans could possibly get, other than lifting another Super Bowl trophy. Cliff Branch was announced as a finalist to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2022.
Yeah, it's about time that Cliff got in, you know. He had better numbers than Pearson and Swan. One of the few Raiders to have won all three Super Bowls. I think he scored a touchdown in all three Super Bowls. Cliff was one of the first speed receivers, you know. I love hearing the stories about how he came in and he didn't have the best hands, but he kept practicing. So, you know, they had that workman, you know, that blue collar mentality. So it's about time. It would have been really cool, though, if he would have got in 2021, considering that he wore number 21. But at least, you know, Tom got in. There's still plenty more Raiders to get in that should be in. You know, like Todd Christensen, Lester Hayes. You know, you can name a lot of them. Jim Plunkett. But looks like I might be going back to Canton in 2022 if he makes it in.
You know, it's not official yet. He still needs to be voted in. But the fact that he was the only senior candidate nominated, in addition to Dick Vermeil, who was the coach candidate. I have to say one thing, and I heard this on a couple of different media outlets. Mark Davis has done a lot to restore and repair the image of the Raiders organization. And now you're starting to see some Raiders get in. So I got to give full props and full credit to Mark Davis, because now it looks like the rest of the league is finally giving Al Davis a pass and coming back to the Raiders who really deserve to be in and saying, okay, it's your time now.
Yeah, speed kills. Cliff deserved to be in years and years ago. Like Homer said, his numbers were better than Swan, better than Pearson. And I believe he was the only Raiders wide receiver to win all three Super Bowl games as well. He deserved to be in. It's a shame he didn't make it in while he was still alive. But at least he's going in, it looks like. The 53-man roster was determined on Tuesday. In our discussion, we'll each reveal someone who we thought was a surprise cut and who was a surprise retention. And there were a few surprises on either end.
Now, I think for the most part, a lot of us had down on the roster, we probably all had 46 to 47 players, and I think we were all pretty much in agreement on who those players were. But the 7 or 8 that were kind of up in the air, I think once we get into the discussion, we'll see that even here on the podcast, we don't always agree on who should have been kept and who should have been not kept. And we'll discuss that a little bit later.
I'm glad that we finally got down to the 53-man roster. You know what I mean? It makes it a little bit easier to start to learn these players and pay a little bit more attention to them without having to consider if they'll even be on the team or not. So I'm happy we're here. I've been wanting us to get here. Here we are, about a week away from the game. So I'm excited. This is going to be a great season. And I'm going to say that this 53-man roster, it will get us into the playoffs. We will get into the playoffs for sure.
On Wednesday, the Raiders announced that the following players had been signed to the practice squad. Tight end Matt Bushman, offensive lineman Jeremiah Putasi, running back Trey Regas, wide receiver Dylan Stoner, wide receiver DJ Turner, defensive end Jerry Green, safety Jordan Brown, guard Lester Cotton Sr., running back BJ Emmons, tackle Devery Hamilton, cornerback Robert Jackson, center Jimmy Morrissey, linebacker Max Richardson, defensive tackle Niles Scott, and defensive end Kendall Vickers, who will now wear number 95.
I'm glad that we don't have to depend on these guys on the practice squad. DJ Turner was one that we all thought would make it, and so was Trey Regis onto the 53-man roster. But we have so much depth now that a lot of these young players that shows some promise, we don't have to jump on right now. They can take a back seat, go to the practice squad, and learn a little bit more. There's not as much pressure on these young guys that we're trying to bring in because we are starting to build depth, and that's a damn good thing because I'm tired of this team, struggling. And we got to, the way that we stop second half collapses during the season is through depth, because people get injured. Now we got a 17-game schedule, so we're going to need these guys to stay healthy for even longer now. So it's nice to see that we have the depth to where people, like I said, like DJ Turner and Trey Regis, we're not going to have to automatically depend on them to step right in and play well. They can take a little bit of time to learn, and so I think we're doing good. Mike Mayock is definitely doing his thing. You know what I mean? I think this season shows just how much COVID affected everything as far as the overall process of evaluating talent and players. Made it tough to get the guys that we needed to get over the hump, but I think that we're definitely going to get over the hump this year with this kind of depth.
And I really like the guys on the practice squad. Last year, it seemed like the guys that we added on were kind of throwaway players. And it's like, yeah, okay, we had this guy, we had this guy. But the guys who came into the camp this year, the Raiders really liked. And I think they looked at a lot of the guys and said, look, we're hoping that you go through waivers and that you will come back to us. So it looks like a lot of that happened because a lot of the guys you see are guys who've been in camp all year. We do add one additional. So we have breaking news even as we have coming in. So in addition to the players already mentioned on the practice squad, the Raiders have also added cornerback Madre Harper to the practice squad, who was with the Raiders for at least a minute in previous seasons.
One of the players who made the 53-man roster that we did not have a chance to talk about yet is linebacker Denzel Perryman, who the Raiders acquired by trading away a sixth-round draft pick in next year's draft to the Carolina Panthers. In exchange, the Raiders received Perryman and a 2022 seventh-round pick. Perryman, who has a bit of an injury history, has some experience in a Gus Bradley-led defense and brings some much-needed depth to the Raiders' linebacking core.
Now, the key with this one is if he stays healthy. He's not going to be a starter, but hopefully he will be in there in case he needs to be depended upon. Now, when he signed, that puts the roster at 52. And I make that mention because the Raiders have re-signed tight end Derek Carrier and safety Dallin Levitt, and they've also signed free agent offensive lineman Jermaine Oleamanor, while placing running back Jalen Richard and linebackers Nicholas Morrow and Javen White on the injured reserve. So as of right now, as we're doing this podcast, 52 players are on the 53-man roster at the moment, and there's one space left over, which we're going to talk about in just 1 minute.
Hey, I know that there is some concern with Perryman staying healthy, but, I saw a play where he navigated through the players on the field and blew up an offensive lineman. If we can get that kind of hitter, that dog in short yardage situations or at the goal line, this can really help us win games. You know what I mean? That's what it is. We've been asking for linebackers for a while now, and we got Perryman, of course. KJ Wright, we'll talk about him in a little bit, but adding those two, that really opens it up. We still got Kwiatkowski. Morrow's coming back. Just a few weeks ago, we were worried about the depth in this linebacking core, but this linebacking core is looking a lot better now. A little bit older, but you know what? Hey, that's what we need because we need this defense to really show up day one and play well. That's the only way we're going to get into the playoffs. You know what I mean? We can't have a slow start on defense, and they have to come in and play well. And Perryman, knowing, a little bit of how to run Gus Bradley's or play in Gus Bradley's defense helps a lot. So again, this is another coach in Bradley that Gruden brought in that players want to play for. Took a little bit of time for KJ to kind of get in, but man, kudos to Mike Mayock. He's doing a great job, and I'm excited to see what Denzel Perryman can do in short yardage situations and at the goal line.
Yeah, it's pretty apparent that Gus Bradley is not playing around. He sees a weakness on the team and he wants it addressed and he gets it filled. Which brings us to this just in. Josina Anderson has announced the Raiders signing a free agent linebacker KJ Wright to a 1-year deal. Wright has been one of the most dependable linebackers in the league since being drafted by Seattle in 2011. His 54 passes defensed are the fourth most of any linebacker over his 10-year career. Perhaps this is the missing piece for that Raiders defense, which is coming in the nick of time.
Yeah, I mean, because we were all worried. Definitely coming in the nick of time because we were all worried about the depth for a little bit. But now, let's see what KJ can do. He should be able to slide right in and lead this team. I'm excited to see what happens. There's a lot of competition now at the linebacker spot. This is definitely what we needed. I'm hoping that KJ Wright can really get our linebackers up to speed really quick. Again, we got to start off strong. We got to start off fast. And people like KJ Wright, because you've been hearing that he's a cerebral guy. He's going to get in there and show people what to do, how to do it, and he's a good leader. So this is definitely one of the better signings that we've had in a while. This is a person that a lot of Raider Nation wanted to sign. I think all three of us agreed in the last episode to sign him, and we got him. Here we are talking about him. Cannot wait to see 54 passes defensed. I mean, that's what we need. The tight ends that we got in this division, KJ is going to have his hands full. But if he can minimize their catches and their yardage after catch, I cannot wait. And I think one thing that's got me excited also is, I heard on Raider Nation Radio, right, that they were talking about how having a defense that Gruden can believe in might actually open up the playbook. And I know that, you guys have talked a lot about y'all's concerns with Gruden being conservative, but there is a chance now that we might be able to open it up because Gruden will believe in that defense. Again, I said a while back, that if I'm Mark Davis, I'm telling Mike Mayock, build me a defense. It seems like that's what they're doing. You know what I mean? Get Gus Bradley, boom. Get the guys he wants. I mean, this is a great defense. Started off with Yannick Ngakoue. Then we got Gerald McCoy. A lot of people talked about how Corey Littleton would benefit from having an Aaron Donald. Now, McCoy's not Aaron Donald, but if we can get some pressure in the middle, that's going to help these linebackers. I mean, this team looks a lot different, and it looks explosive. This defense looks explosive. I'm excited. Here we are just a few weeks away. Cannot wait for Monday Night Football. This is going to be a hell of a year.
And Homer, you were right that the Raiders really need to get off to a fast and strong start. And their first opponent right out of the gate is ranked by many as the fourth best team in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens. So it's going to be a tough test coming out of the gate, and they'll be at home. But this particular team, and the Raiders defense in particular, has Gus Bradley stamped all over it. When you look at the players they brought in through free agency, when you look at the draft choices they've had, and just bringing it all together, this defense has Gus Bradley all over it. So if it succeeds, he's going to get all the credit. But now the scrutiny is going to be on him to make sure he gets these guys together, gets them in place, and does everything that's been promised. So it's a matter of making it happen now.
Yeah, Wright has started 140 games, and he has totaled 941 tackles. And of those, 66 are tackles for loss. I mean, that's what we need. We need that leader. We need that player that's still playing at a high level. I think this was a great signing.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go ahead and get the 49ers game out of the way. T3 is going to break it down quarter by quarter, just like we have been doing for the previous games.
Okay.
Wait a minute. We had a game?
Well,
they charged admission for
sort of,
and they put it on TV.
Yeah, that was rough to watch. I was glad that they took it off a NFL Network. You know what I mean? I was like, yes, mercy rule. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem. I would have been happier if you'd interrupted Greg Papa instead.
Yeah, that was hard to hear.
I've already blocked most of it out of my mind.
So let's go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. So the 49ers got the ball first, and it was kind of like Charles Barkley playing basketball with a bunch of elementary kids. So the 49ers rolled all their starters out while the Raiders sat 30 players. George Kittle caught a pass from Jimmy Garoppolo and made his way toward midfield early in the first drive. From midfield, Raheem Mostert ripped off 20 yards off the right side, and then Mostert got the ball again running left, and he picked up 15 more yards down to the Raider 15. After a short gain up the middle, the 49ers picked up one more first down inside the 5. Then Jimmy Garoppolo scored the touchdown after a nearly 8-minute drive to open the game, 7-0 49ers. When the Raiders got the ball, the offense picked up one first down, but then they had to punt after possessing the ball for a little less than 2 minutes. San Fran's second drive, a combination of runs and passes, got the ball into the red zone, and then the quarter ran out before they could score again. So at the end of quarter one, it's 7-0 49ers with San Fran threatening.
Yeah, well, there's not much to say about this. I mean, we had our third stringers in there, maybe a few second stringers, but this was a gut check time for these younger players that were trying to make the team. I know Arnett was playing in there and things like that, but he's on the bubble. So, and the 49ers just took it to him in the first quarter, throughout the game, but definitely it started in the first quarter. Obviously, Garoppolo though, running into the end zone, I thought Muse made an alert play, coming off of the coverage and trying to get him at the 1 yard line. Of course, Garoppolo got in there, but to jump up and celebrate like that, when you are playing the third stringers and you're playing the third stringers, no wonder he's in a quarterback controversy. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that, I don't see Derek Carr doing something like that. You might say, ha ha ha, I don't see Derek Carr running into the end zone, but he has done it before. But I don't see Derek Carr jumping up and celebrating when he's playing the third stringers like that. I was kind of disappointed. But then again, there's not a whole lot of sportsmanship in sports these days.
Now, I'll start off by saying it is not the San Francisco 49ers. It's the Santa Clara Niners. They just haven't recognized it yet. They play nowhere near San Francisco. So I just had to throw that in there as a Northern California girl. They're really not San Francisco. Anyways, Homer's right. There's really not a whole lot to say. We played our third string. They played their starters. It was an imbalance from the very beginning, and it was ugly. It was really ugly. There's just not a lot to say. I mean, we did have players like Carl Joseph playing, we had John Brown playing, but these were players that were on the bubble, even though they were big names, and a lot of people assumed that they would be making the team. The fact that they were out there playing on Sunday showed that they were on the bubble, and they didn't make it. So that's that.
All right, so shortly into the second quarter, Trey Lance, the other quarterback, ran it in for the touchdown. Greg Papa was way too excited, and the few fans inside Levi's Stadium thought that they were world beaters, and they were running around thumping their chests, and the 49ers were up 14-0. Yeah, congratulations. Peterman sent Regis on a pretty run to the right and then laced a pretty pass down the right sideline to Dylan Stoner. The drive stalled, and Daniel Carlson ended up kicking a 51-yard field goal, cutting the lead to 14-3. Good to see that long field goal. On the 49ers' third possession, the Raiders' defense stepped up and forced a punt. And then pinned deep in their own territory, the Raiders then started their third drive but could do very little. The 49ers then got the ball back in excellent shape. They marched right on down the field into the red zone. But to the Raiders' credit, their backup defenders kept the Niners out of the end zone, and they had to kick a short field goal. The Raiders got the ball again, gave it up on a punt, and the 49ers made one more drive into the red zone. But again, only came away with 3 instead of 7. So the halftime score was 20-3 49ers, though it could have been worse. And at this point, I really need to credit the Raiders' backup defenders with a couple of red zone stops in the second quarter.
Yeah, once again, there's still just really nothing to say. I say we just let T3 read the rundown and move on from there to something less painful.
Homer, you good with that?
Yeah, just once again, though, Greg Papa, calm down. You shouldn't have said what you said about Mark Davis and the Raiders. We miss you, but don't get too excited. And yeah, they are not the San Francisco 49ers. So go ahead. Sorry, just continue. It's just like running your foot over razors, I guess. Something like that. It's not fun at all.
This is
Stepping on Legos.
Yeah, this is ripping the Band-Aid off slowly.
Yeah.
It's just like getting your back waxed.
Ouch.
All right. So second half, the 49ers got the ball to start the second half, and they did nothing. They punted to the Raiders, and Peterman proceeded to drive the Raiders all the way down the field. And during a sack along the way, made several nice passes, and the drive finally resulted in a touchdown pass to Nick Bowers. 20-10, 49ers lead, with a lot of time shaved off the clock, giving the defense a nice rest. Unfortunately, when the 49ers got the ball back, the Raiders' defense proved that they probably had rested a little bit too much. Bad tackling resulted in a touchdown, making the score stretch to 27-10. Then Peterman threw a pick, which the Niners ran all the way back into the Raiders' red zone, which ended up in a short touchdown run. So now the 49ers are up 34-10. The Raiders got the ball again, but a sack forced them to give the ball up. And at the end of the third quarter, it was 34-10. Should I just go ahead and get it?
Well, hold on. I mean, Peterman got beat up,
Yeah.
But I still want to give credit to Peterman. He's competing his ass off. It's unfortunate that, he ran into this buzzsaw with a bunch of second and third stringers. But still, kudos to Peterman for doing what he had to do to compete to stay on this roster.
Yeah, definitely kudos to Peterman. He did tough it out. He ran for his life out there. So he definitely deserved his little game check that he got for that preseason game. I do have one bone to pick with the NFL. I pay for NFL Game Pass. I've gotten it for several years now. And one of the features is that in the preseason, you get every preseason game live, and you can watch it live. On NFL Game Pass, they actually changed the feed over to the other game. That's not what I pay for. I pay to be able to watch the entire game. I should have been able to watch the entire game. I was robbed.
I think the NFL Network was invoking the mercy rule there.
I pay to avoid the mercy rule.
Well, no, I still was interested in watching the game. Plus, we were at the South Austin Beer Garden with the Black Hole Austin, Texas chapter. But, so we were all disappointed. But, you know what I mean? Yeah, I guess it is kind of a mercy rule thing. Because I'll tell you what, I didn't go back to watch the rest of that game, when it came out. Because that was a shellacking for sure.
Well, I will say that we did actually find the game on another source. And we did watch the end, as painful as it was. But we didn't watch very closely.
Well, they kind of hung in there in the fourth quarter. So the Niners kept the ball mostly on the ground. They ended up inside the Raiders' red zone near the goal line when the game ended, with the 49ers winning the game 34-10. At final statistics, Nate Peterman finished the game 18 for 29 for 175 yards, one touchdown, and one interception. Trey Regis carried 9 times for 39 yards. Dylan Stoner caught 3 balls for 69 yards. The 49ers outgained the Raiders 375 yards to 212, and the time of possession favored the Niners 33-42 to 26-18. The Raider defense gave up 26 first downs, while the Niners defense only gave up 12. And that was a big key right there. There were allegedly 60,873 fans at the game, although many seemed to be disguised as empty seats. Mercifully, the Raiders got out of town with no major injuries. And I just dust my hands off and I look at San Francisco and say, congratulations, your starters beat our third stringers.
Your starters beat the guys that are going to be working at Home Depot this weekend. Congratulations. Yes. And yes, I believe that probably the best thing about that game is that we did make it out of there without any major injuries. So that's definitely the biggest plus.
One thing that a lot of people were talking about, or at least seeing a few posts from some reporters and things like that, talking about how the Raiders may have lost that game, but they definitely won the common sense battle, San Francisco was definitely celebrating, beating our third stringers, but we weren't about to put our first stringers on the field with the 17-game schedule ahead of us. So, I'm glad that we did do that because injuries, like with the linebacking core, that had us all worried. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that they said, "Hey, no, we're putting in these guys that we want film on for one last shot," and they got the film that they needed to get this practice squad together, to get the third stringers, figured out. So I'm glad that our team, like I said again, we have the kind of depth that will allow us to put third stringers in a game like this because we know who our starters were. We know for the most part who our second stringers are. They were just giving the practice squad guys and the third stringers a chance to battle it out. So that's how far we've come as far as our roster. So again, kudos to Mike Mayock. Kudos to John Gruden for not panicking and feeling like he had to put his starters out there. I was hoping to see the starters. I thought that they had announced them, in the starting lineup, but whatever happened. And now, as you look back on it, you're happy that hey, we're coming into the start of the season as healthy as can be. And whoever, the people that did get injured, we were able to find players to fill their spots. So we are looking good. We have a lot of depth. A lot of young, promising players on the practice squad. A lot of young, promising players on the third string, second string, and, of course, the first string. Buckle up, Raider Nation. This is going to be one hell of a ride this year. And, hey, we're going to be here with you, so make sure you tune in to the Only Nation podcast.
All right, here's our second topic. We're going to look at the final roster, and we're each going to pick 2 players. Someone who made the roster as a surprise, and someone who we thought should have made the roster, but didn't. T3 will start us out.
Okay, I first want to mention a guy who I thought should have made the 53-man roster, but didn't. I know he's young, and I know that the Raiders need proven depth on the offensive line, but I really believe the 7th-round pick, Jimmy Morrissey, should have made this roster. He's a hard worker, and he's been a winner everywhere he's been. Now, the Raiders got really, really lucky in that he passed through waivers, and they were able to add him back on the practice squad. I was really worried because I thought with all of his talent and his proven ability and the fact that he's such a hard worker that another team would have picked him up. But I think he's right on deck to be able to move into the 53-man roster in case there's an injury. So for all the great things that Tom Cable has done, I think taking that chance to have Morrissey go and have another team potentially pick him up, I think that was a mistake. So fortunately, it worked out. Now, a surprise on the roster, I think, is tight end Nick Bowers. Now, this is just my opinion. I don't think the team needed a third tight end on the final 53 in light of a lot more pressing needs on the offensive line and within the linebacking core. I'm not saying that Nick is a bad player, and I do wish him well. But if it gets down to him on the roster, the Raiders are in big trouble anyway. There are always third tight ends out there, and there will be all year long. In fact, we just brought back Derek Carrier. Now, so those are my guys. Jimmy Morrissey should have been in. Nick Bowers, I think, should not have been in.
I thought we would have an extra player somewhere else, and I'll get into that. But, maybe Nick Bowers made an impression in this with that touchdown against the 49ers. You know what I mean? But I think having 3 tight ends shows that, hey, we are going to be running this year. Even though we feel confident in this wide receiving group, we are still going to be running, and they plan on having 2 tight end, 3 tight end packages. They're going to load it up. I think that's where, we need to help the most on the on the 1 yard line is big bodies like this, this kid, Nick Bowers, 3 tight end set or whatever, let's get it in there. Let's punch it in there however we have to do it. But hey, Nick Bowers, he fought and scratched his way onto this roster. So congratulations to him. And then Jimmy Morrissey, T3, I know you've been, clamoring for him. Hey, but at least he did clear waivers, and he ended up back on our practice squad. I liked what I've been hearing about him, being able to play center and also guard. So, hey, again, we have a lot of young talent, and it's competitive, y'all. It's competitive. So this is an exciting time. Silver and Black is back. And you know what? It's nice to see, you mentioned Tom Cable. It's nice to see Tom Cable come and help. I was a Tom Cable fan until all that happened. You know what I mean? But it's nice to see him come back and help turn this team around. And we've really done a good job, I think, coaching-wise, to where we can coach up these guys to where they can compete. So, hey, kudos to Nick Bowers. And, kudos to Jimmy Morrissey for, making the practice squad, and Nick Bowers for making the 53-man roster.
And who I picked, I guess I'm going to mention 3 players. I also picked Nick Bowers as the surprise on the roster. However, I thought that he should have made it. I just didn't expect him to, simply because of Gruden's love affair with Derek Carrier. Carrier has been there forever, and it seems like he will never leave, evidenced by the point that he's already re-signed with the Raiders again and is back on the 53-man roster. But Bowers has been there for over a year now, and he really must have developed last year on the practice squad. In the preseason, he had 5 targets, 5 receptions. He gained 45 yards. He had a touchdown, and he was able to block somewhat effectively. So I really thought that he should have been on. I was just very surprised that he did actually make it. The player that I thought should have made it that didn't is Trey Regis. He had 28 carries for 102 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 12 targets with 8 receptions for 59 yards. That's right up where Jalen Richard is. I didn't think Richard should have made it. I think Richard should be gone. He did make the 53-man roster. Now he's back on injured reserve already. So I guess that keeping Richard around prevents him from being picked up by the Ravens as a spy for games. But I think Richard's time is done, and I was not surprised that he made it, but I didn't think he should. I did think Trey Regis should have made it, though.
And I agree with you there. I thought really it would come down to Jalen Richard going on IR, which he did. Trey Regis making the 53, which he didn't, but he's back on the practice squad. And then B.J. Emmons being added to the practice squad, which he was. So I think out of all the players that were put on waivers, and I think Mike Mayock even said this, I think Trey Regis was the one they were most concerned about being picked up by another team. So, again, it was a big risk. Very happy to see Regis back with the silver and black, even just in a practice squad role for now, although I think he's probably going to get elevated once we move and shake some more of the roster. And you and I will just simply have to disagree on Nick Bowers. I think just in light, again, out of all the needs they had for offensive line and linebacker, players like Nick Bowers and Alex Ellis and Derek Carrier would have been available at the drop of a hat to bring back in once all the cuts were made. So I don't think that was a roster spot that needed to be secured by a guy like Nick Bowers when there were so many other pressing needs out there. So you and I will just have to disagree on that one.
Yeah. In all honesty, if Morrissey would have made it and Bowers didn't, I would have considered that a very prudent move and a good move. So if we did only go with 2 tight ends, it wouldn't have been a mistake.
So I'm kind of surprised, I guess, because I think that Regis did make, a lot of noise. And then I did kind of think he would make it, but I still wanted my crazy theory to work out. Of course, it didn't. But Regis, I thought, would be a good move as far as being the third running back, in all honesty, because, he's going to come in cheaper. But apparently Richard can block a lot better. And, of course, he's a punt returner and all that. And now I know that you cringe every time he returns punts, Heidi, but apparently nobody else does on that team.
They should.
But yeah, I was kind of surprised that he made it and Regis didn't. Of course, I thought DJ Turner should have made the 53-man roster. I thought that guy was electric. He was all over the field. To me, he does remind me of Jacoby Ford. So I was surprised he didn't make it, and I was surprised that Richard made it on the roster over him. Of course, you might say, well, Turner is a receiver, but of course he played running back in college, and I thought that him being on the roster could have allowed us to cut Richard and maybe keep like a Jimmy Morrissey, you know what I mean? Or whoever else, somebody in the linebacking core, because we've been struggling with depth there. But you know what? Richard made it because they believe in him. So I'm not going to really knock it too much, you know what I mean? If he can contribute and help us get into the playoffs, hey, great call. And keep Regis on the practice squad. We didn't lose him in the end. Or DJ Turner, and let's see what happens to DJ Turner, because he could be on this team real quick, you know what I mean? But again, we got the depth with a Richard at third running back to where DJ Turner doesn't have to step in real quick. He can give his body some time to develop. He can learn the playbook a little bit more. You know the guy's going to be able to play football. Maybe Coach Gruden maybe they feel like, hey, we're not going to be rushing these guys anymore. You know what I mean? We got a hell of a roster right now. We can go into this candy store and just take our pick. You know what I mean? And it seems like that's what they're doing. But I would have liked to see DJ Turner make it as the emergency running back, wide receiver, play a joker role on this roster, which can still happen in the future. So fingers crossed. So I won't sound just like a loon. My craziness will actually come to fruition, but we'll see.
And speaking of Jalen Richard, I will just say, and of course, a lot of people within Raider Nation are kind of turned off by him right now. But if it came down to his ability to block, all I will say is you can't block when you're wearing a boot. I guess we needed a rim shot for that one.
Yeah, I could totally see DJ Turner coming in and playing the Joker role. He would be very good at it. He was a solid wide receiver. From what I understand, he would be a solid running back. So I could definitely see him playing that role much better than Lynn Bowden Jr., who, is he in jail or something? I don't know, whatever happened to him. But he seems to be possibly maybe higher character player as well. So hopefully that's something they took into consideration with the players they signed this year. But DJ Turner, yeah, I could totally see him doing that. And I don't think Homer's wrong by saying that, he should have been on as well. I kind of saw that 6 wide receiver spot up between Turner and Stoner. And it just so happened they decided to, not keep either of them. But they did pull both of them back for the practice squad. So I totally agree with that.
Homer, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see DJ Turner being the 1 or 2 players that they move up from the practice squad to play against the Ravens and putting him back there as a punt returner. That would not surprise me one bit.
Me either, I mean, that guy, like I said, he's electric. I think that he can really put our special teams over the edge or, give our receivers a rest and really come in and perform at a high level, especially once he starts to get comfortable playing in the NFL. That kid looks really exciting, electric, so I'm excited to see what he can do for this team in the near future.
Yeah, and I'd feel a lot better about seeing DJ Turner back there for punt returns than Jalen Richard. That's just me.
I agree.
Okay, T3, how about bringing us your top 3 for the week?
T3's top 3.
All right, here is this week's top 3. A lot of Raider Nation's been up in arms and angry about the cutting of Carl Joseph. Let me just say this. He was picked up early in the offseason, and he was kind of like the part-time job you get when you're waiting on that really good job to come along. Carl Joseph was not going to be the answer for this team, despite the fact that he was and is a fan favorite. I wish him well, but I'm so ready to see what these young guys, with the benefit of the coaching of Ron Miles, put forward in 2021. Oh, and by the way, I said a long time ago that Roderick Teamer was going to make the 53-man roster. So good on me there. Number 2, 3 quarterbacks. Do we really need 3 quarterbacks on this roster? In my opinion, the Raiders could have cut Peterman and probably would have been able to get him back on the practice squad. It's only one person's opinion, but I think if Peterman is not the backup, it's way too costly to have a 3rd quarterback anywhere else than on the practice squad. And number 3, Nevin Lawson. I have long been not a fan of Nevin Lawson, though he actually did a few decent things in training camp and during some of the preseason games. With the infusion of young talent and some of Gus Bradley's guys, I think it's finally time for the Nevin Lawson experiment with the Raiders to come to an official end. The 2-game suspension doesn't count against the roster numbers, but it's time to rip the Band-Aid off and free up that number 26. And that is this week's top 3.
Like I said, when I saw Carl Joseph playing on Sunday against the 49ers, that let me know that he really was on the bubble, and they just weren't sure if they were going to keep him or not. I think he was probably one of the last decisions that they made. I am excited to see Ron Miles and what he does with that defensive backfield. I really want to see what Damon Arnett can do under him, see how much Mullen can improve. I'm excited to see what he can do. Three quarterbacks, I totally agree. Peterman should be on the practice squad. We don't need three quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. We could have cut Peterman and kept Morrissey or Regis, and Peterman would have cleared waivers. Nobody would have grabbed him. Actually, has he been in the league long enough where he would have just been released? I don't know. But either way, we could have had him back, and it would have been no skin off our nose. He'd still be the third quarterback, even if it's not officially on the 53. Nevin Lawson, I have been with you for a long time as well, T3. I'm not a big fan of his. Really unimpressed with him being suspended again at the start of the season. Get lost, Nevin. I'm just tired of you. He's one of the better cornerbacks on the roster, which says something about the talent that we have. Hopefully that Bradley and Milas have been coaching up the younger ones, that he's no longer one of the better cornerbacks. I'm ready to see him go, and I'm hoping that when Nate Hobbs plays in his place in these first two games, he lights the room on fire, and the Raiders decide Nevin Lawson does not need to be activated, and they can cut their losses and wave goodbye.
As Bob Dylan once sang, the times, they are a-changin'.
Yep.
Yes, they are, and Carl Joseph being cut is a perfect example of that. He was known as the hitman here. That's why he is a fan favorite. We loved watching Carl Joseph hit people, but we do have a lot of talent on this team. And I believe Roderick Teamer won his spot against the Seahawks in the second preseason game. I thought he played really well in that game, and I'm not surprised he made the team. And Ron Milas, if you can turn this into a Legion of Boom, you will be my favorite defensive backs coach for the Raiders since Willie Brown. Three quarterbacks on the squad. Now, again, I listen to a lot of Raider Nation radio. They were talking about how Peterman was sought after, so he may not have cleared waivers and made the practice squad, and we could have lost out on there. Now, again, the concern for me is why didn't Mariota play? Are you going to say that Mariota, you're comfortable with where he's at? You've been hearing a lot about interceptions being thrown in practice with him, so maybe he is there just for this short yardage package or an emergency situation if Carr gets hurt. But, Peterman, hey, he fought his ass off, and he earned that third quarterback spot, so I'm not too worried about it. And Nevin Lawson, what does he have on this coaching staff, right? Because, 2-game suspension, it seems like the Raiders aren't putting up with that kind of shit. But maybe they do see something in him that they really do believe in. Maybe this is like a Ron Milas move, where he's like, what, let's give this guy one more shot. I like him enough. He can be a security blanket for us. So we'll see what happens with Nevin. But, Hobbs, he is putting pressure on a lot of these defensive backs, and I cannot wait to see what he does on the field during the regular season.
I'm excited about Hobbs. I think he's one of the players I'm most excited about. And as far as where I'm comfortable with Mariota, I'm very comfortable with him. He's never been someone that practiced well. The fact that he actually did practice well at certain points in our preseason this year is a testament to him improving. But he's never been a solid practice player. So the fact that he did have some solid time in practice says to me that he's getting even better. I'm comfortable with where he's at. And I don't think he was really injured this year. I think Gruden just wanted to stash him.
Could be. And now it's time for Homer's Hammer. Faster than Henry Ruggs, more powerful than Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl. Able to leap tall social media trolls in a single bound. Look, they're in the toolbox. It's a nail. Nailed it. It's a screw. Driver. No, it's...
Homer's Hammer. Man, faster than Henry Ruggs and more powerful than Bo Jackson. Can you imagine watching those two race? That would have been something to see. But no, we're talking about social media trolls almost every time we come to this segment. I just want to say something, Raider Nation. It's there's a lot of stuff going on out there, man, that is kind of ridiculous. If you're going to be preaching positivity, don't be behind the scenes trying to fight people. Come on, man. Let's be adults about this. Let's work things out overall. And, it starts with maybe it starts with winning. Who knows? Maybe we just need some smiles on our face. But I've seen some insane text messages and insane messages going on, floating around the Raider Nation like this about certain dramas and things like that. I just feel like, you know what, man? If we can't, as a fan base, get our shit together, man, we can't call ourselves the best fan base. To all those out there that do have a good positive attitude and really try to put in the work, I appreciate you guys, man. It's very important to me that the Raider Nation represents the Raiders the right way. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to lie and say that we're the best fan base if we're not acting like a good fan base and we're full of good people. But that's my little rant for now. Let's all just try to, shut up, I guess.
All right. Sounds good. Give us a call at 904-701-8667. Leave a voicemail or text message at that number, or send us a message via social media, and we'll share your thoughts. This week, we have one voicemail.
Hey, this is Raider Steve in Richmond, Virginia. I guess final cuts or, first cuts really came today. And I got to tell y'all, I'm pretty excited about the roster. There's not a whole lot of names jumping out at you. There's not a whole lot of, I guess Yannick Ngakoue is probably the biggest name that really jumps out on that roster. Except for me, I'm a big Derek Carr fan, but whatever. Anyway, I'm pretty excited about the season. I really like the roster. Who knows how much of home field advantage the Raiders are going to have in that new stadium. We'll see what kind of crowd gets in there. I'm excited for the season. Granted, I hear we've got a very, very tough schedule. I think I saw a headline that said we have the second hardest strength of schedule in the league. That does not bode well. Hopefully, we won't be doing 40,000 air miles worth of travel this year, seems like every other friggin' year. But I think we're in good shape this year. We split with the Chiefs last year, so I think we can split with them again. I think if we catch tailwind and a little bit of luck, we might even sweep them. So, I'm not going to go point by point through the season. That's, sort of why I listen to you guys. But I'm feeling good about it. And I wonder if y'all feeling optimistic. Maybe I got a little preseason homer going. I don't know. Anyway, looking forward to your next podcast. Y'all have a good day. All right.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being a homer, I think every year we're always facing the toughest schedule. It seems like that for sure. But you know what? Here lately, even though we've been traveling a lot on the road, we have definitely been able to handle ourselves well on the road. Hopefully with 9 home games, though, we can get over that edge and win these tough schedules. Look, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So right now, while we're building our roster, it seems unfair. But once we can start to beat up on these teams, you're going to feel a lot more confident when we do get to the Super Bowl. And yeah, we split with the Chiefs last year, but my bold prediction is that we sweep the Chiefs this year. And if we can do that, then I definitely think that we will win the division. So yeah, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being a homer, and thank you for calling in.
Yeah, we love homers around here. They're kind of cute and cuddly. We like them.
Aww.
Yeah, they're nice to keep around. I'm feeling really good about the roster. I'm excited to see what we can do. I do know that we have a really tough schedule, and that's what's keeping me a little bit tempered as far as my record prediction goes. I'm still leaning it around 10-7, and that's pretty much strictly because of the tough schedule that we do have coming up. But I'm excited. I'm with you guys.
I have been probably more excited about this roster than I have been in years. The guys that we cut before, we would go out and scour the waiver wire to try to add players on at the very last. But we got rid of some good players, and, of course, we brought them back on practice squad. I'm really happy to see this team coming together. And when I look at the schedule, I see a tough schedule for the Raiders, but I see a lot of teams now that have the Raiders circled on their schedule, and they're not looking at them as an easy out anymore. They're not looking at it as an easy win. They're looking at it as a really tough game on their schedule, especially the ones who have to travel to Las Vegas. So I'm looking forward to this season.
All right, and this week, be sure to check out the latest episode of Raider Roots. It's out now. It takes a look back at the year 1967 and a Raiders AFL championship. And it has a very cool story about Hall of Famer Gene Upshaw in it. T3, let's find out what Homer doesn't know.
Hey Homer, did you know?
Now it's time for another edition of Hey Homer, Did You Know? In this segment, I will ask Homer and Heidi and the rest of our listening audience a Raiders-related question with 3 possible answers to choose from. It's multiple choice, so just give it your best guess. So here goes. Here's this week's question. Now, when the Raiders played the Baltimore Ravens on September 13th, Yannick Ngakoue will be playing against his former team. But the Ravens were also the closest professional team to where he played college ball at the University of Maryland. Who on the Raiders' current roster was Ngakoue's teammate at the University of Maryland? Was it A, Quentin Jefferson, B, Nick Kwiatkowski, or C, Willie Snead? Homer, what do you think?
A, Quentin Jefferson, because I remember him being excited that he was going to play with Yannick again, so I'm going to go with A.
I'm just going to go to be different and say C, Willie Snead.
Homer, you're correct. Quentin Jefferson.
Oh, thank God.
A is the answer.
Finally.
It's been rough the last couple of weeks.
Your memory is good. Yes, Quentin Jefferson and Yannick Ngakoue were teammates at the University of Maryland. Homer got it right, and that is this week's version of Hey Homer, Did You Know? And you did.
Congratulations, Homer. I'm proud of you.
A broken clock is right twice a day, right? So
It is indeed.
I get lucky. Anyways, here we go. And now, Raider Nation, it's time for Heidi's Heroes.
A week before the world shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic in the spring of 2020, Max Crosby's world opened up. That's when the Las Vegas Raiders defensive end began a month-long stay in rehab for alcoholism and is now nearing an 18-month milestone of being sober. In a wide-ranging interview with ESPN, Crosby detailed his fight for sobriety as he enters his 3rd season in the NFL. It got to the point after my rookie year that my life became unmanageable, Crosby said. Alcohol, partying, and all that shit became too much of a distraction in my life. It became just overwhelming. I've always had issues with drinking and partying throughout high school and college. I've been able to slip by and get by, but it became too much for me, and it's always been that one crutch. Alcoholism runs in my family, and I'm an alcoholic. So for me, I knew it was something that was always a crutch. I always knew I had a problem. I knew I couldn't just drink like everybody else. I got ahead of it. My first year of sobriety is always the hardest, and that was this last year. I had a lot of ups and downs. Mentally, it was really tough for me, but going in, I'm almost a year and a half sober now, and life is great. I'm really enjoying every single day. I'm enjoying the work. Max Crosby began a month-long stay in rehab for alcoholism last season, and he's now nearing 18 months of sobriety. It was March 11th, 2020, the day I got sober, he said. I was living in Hollywood. Strolled out there and checked into rehab, and the whole world was put on shutdown. I was there for a month, and then I was able to just get myself right. And then after rehab, for that month I went to a sober living facility, and I was staying out in Venice Beach all the way up until training camp. I was literally in treatment like that for the whole off-season. It was a big struggle, but looking back on my journey, I know 5 years, 10 years down the road, I'll look back and be like, that was the biggest off-season of my life, even though I was just trying to get my shit together and just trying to stay above water. I know that if I can make it through that shit and get sober, I can do anything. It was special, and I met some awesome people along the way. John Gruden said of Crosby, Max is an amazing man. He realized he had a problem, and he isolated himself and conquered it. He has incredible mental toughness and a desire to be great. He's a great inspiration for people to see what you can do if you're committed to following through. Crosby continued, when I went off to rehab, I was terrified. I didn't know if I was able to do it. I couldn't imagine my life being sober. But today, the blessings have come my way from being sober and doing the work and trusting in the people around me that have been incredible. I'm living my real purpose and helping people out. The whole basis of AA is literally you can't do it alone. AA is a big family. This offseason has been incredible, he said. I've never been in this good a shape in my life. I've never been this dedicated. I've always been a hard worker as far as work ethic. I've taken it to a whole different level. I love being able to talk about it and share my story with other people and try to help other people out what they're going through, what I have gone through. It is for this reason that Max Crosby is my Heidi's hero this week. You can read more about his journey on the ESPN website in an article written by Paul Gutierrez, and I'll link to that in the show notes.
And for anybody who has ever been in rehab or who is currently in rehab, Max Crosby, and I will also mention Darren Waller, both Raiders are your heroes. They are walking the walk, and they are showing the way. And I could not be more proud of these two guys. Max has had a great journey. He's chronicled it very openly and honestly. He's talked about the demons. He's talked about stepping up and making his life better. It's going to make his life better, his entire family's life better. He's impacting his team. He's impacting the NFL and society at large. So congratulations, Max Crosby. Very well-deserved hero for this week.
I have a hard time just having a drink or two. So, I know how he feels. But, I've never been brave enough, I guess, to go and check in myself in and try to beat this, because I do like to drink, you know what I mean? The Raider Homer moniker fits in more ways than one, you know what I mean? But it is something that, a lot of people need help with, and it is something that's hard to overcome. I think that shows how dedicated Max Crosby is to being a good person, right? Living his best life and being the best football player he can be. Your body has to be tip-top shape, and drinking like that, mixing it with anything else, also it can really hold these athletes back, you know what I mean? And so I'm so happy that Max Crosby faced his issues and overcame his issues, and that's an inspiration to me. So, this guy, he lives in Texas, so it's really cool to see a Raider live in Texas and do well, and then become, Heidi's hero by doing something that's good for himself, but also sets an example for the youth of the Raider Nation. So I you know what, Max, I'm very proud of you, man, and you know what, maybe when I grow up, I can be like you.
And I also love drinking, which is why I don't drink anymore. In fact, if anybody who's listening here is in recovery or wants to seek recovery, you're welcome to join our Facebook group. It's called Raiders in Recovery, and it's for people that are in 12-step recovery or are facing health problems. Anyone who's in recovery from something, you're very welcome to join that group, Raiders in Recovery. It's a small group, has about 550 people in it, but we have meditations that we read. We keep up on Raiders news as well. But just search for it, send a join request, and we'll get you all hooked up in there. It's just a great place to be around other Raider fans that can be encouraging for you. And that about does it for this week on the Only Nation podcast. If you'd like to help support the show, buy us a hot dog at buymeacoffee.com/onlynationpod. You can find me, Heidi Stabbert, on social media as at Kevlar Prom Dress on Twitter and Instagram, or Heidi Stabbert on Facebook. You can also find me on YouTube on Captain Jack Rackham's channel. Every other Tuesday night, I join the DC wench Peggy Holmes and Andrea Trask on the Captain and Wenches Show.
All right, Raider Nation, be sure to check out Captain Jack and his wenches. I'll tell you what, Captain Jack, he likes his wenches, that's for sure. And Peggy Holmes knows her shit. Andrea is angry. And Heidi, she's okay. You know what I mean? She's not always willing to go out on a limb with the crazy theory, but hey, she can hold her own.
I'm flattered.
With a solid theory. So be sure to tune in. Now, also, go to ChuckyStugs.com and enter the code HomerFlag to get $9.99 off of your flag. And if you get this Chucky Stugs flag seen at the stadium or any stadium at a Raider game and get it acknowledged, you can win $500. All right, so go to ChuckyStugs.com and get you a flag and enter the promo code HomerFlag. Also, JR60 Brands is raffling off tickets to the games throughout the year in Vegas. So you can go to jr60brands.com/raffle and purchase your spot. Very good deals. Joker Raider has some really good seats in the black hole. And his main thing, he knows he can put the tickets on Ticketmaster or wherever, but he wants to give Raider Nation a chance to get those high-dollar tickets at an affordable price. So go to jr60brands.com/raffle. All right, and you can find me, Raider Homer, by going to theraiderhomerchannel.buzzsprout.com. There you will find links to all my social media accounts as well as links to my podcast on whatever podcasting apps you listen to.
All right, Raider Nation, we're now gearing up for the regular season, and we want you with us. So here's what we would like you to do. Send us your name and address so we can send you some free Raiders swag. Call us and tell us what you want to know. Throw us an interesting nugget that we could use on one of our upcoming episodes and become a part of what we're doing here. Remember, this is the only nation, and we want you to be a part of it. So call us 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Call us now and join the Only Nation podcast family. And there are two easy ways to find me on social media. You can send me a tweet at T3_sports703, or you can hit me up on Facebook at Tom, THOM Jones. I will do my best to respond back, and I would love to include your comments on one of our upcoming shows. And thank you for tuning in and also getting involved. And as Heidi mentioned, Raider Roots episode number 9 is out now, and it features the year 1967, the year the Raiders not only make the playoffs, but they go a lot farther than that. So make sure to tune in.
As always, we look forward to hearing from you guys. Until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
We are not just a nation, we are the only nation. Raiders.